Hello and welcome back to our computer programming for robotic camera control course. In this video, we're going to cover JavaScript and Node.js and how that applies to controlling robotic cameras. So first of all, we're going to overview JavaScript. JavaScript is really the language of the internet nowadays, and it adds interactivity to HTML and really forwards what you can do with it. And it's really the language of the internet, especially because it can now be used to send information from a web browser to a server. And that's really an important part of it we're going to talk about. So JavaScript's been around for a while now, and it's incorporated into HTML, as we mentioned, to really add our interactivity to the HTML elements. It originally was intended to be a client-side portion of web-based programming, but has actually morphed into more of a server-side application, and that's where Node.js comes in, and we're going to use that. It's included in our open source camera control software and code that you can download for free on GitHub. So we're going to look at that today. Now, Node.js, by the way, is a server-side application, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And we're going to go over kind of like a hello world JavaScript code as well, which simply takes some very basic HTML. So you can see here we have an H2 header that we're going to hide using JavaScript. In fact, there's a paragraph here that says JavaScript to hide. That P tag in the HTML has an ID of hide. And what we're going to do in our coding challenge in a moment here is create a button that on click calls the JavaScript library inside the document. It gets an element by ID. It's looking for the hide button element. Style will change to display none. And that's just a way to initiate a JavaScript call by clicking a button. It's a great example. We're going to go over that in a coding review in just a moment. Finally, Node.js. It was actually originally written by Ryan Dahl in 2009. He decided, hey, I think we could use this JavaScript language, which is incredibly fast and can handle lots of concurrent threads in a server. And it became a huge deal. Everyone who learns, many people learn HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript's the next language. It's really a humongous language out there, especially with how unpopular the internet is. And so by taking that language and making it available on a server-side application is just incredible. So we're going to use Node.js to communicate with our PTZOptics cameras and issue those HTTP CGI commands that we talked about. It's going to be pretty cool stuff. Let's jump right into our coding challenge, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, guys, welcome back to the Coding Dojo. In this video, we're going to do some very basic JavaScript in case you're unfamiliar with the way it works. Very basic JavaScript button that we're going to build, and I'm pretty excited about it. So let's get started by building a basic HTML document that will have a little bit of JavaScript included. So we're going to go to the top, and we're going to do doc type HTML. All right, so the JavaScript's going to be inside HTML. We'll make a body tag, and now we'll create an H2 tag that's simply going to say, let's try to hide some text with JavaScript. And we'll close that H2 tag. And now we'll create a paragraph with the ID of hide. We're going to create an ID for this HTML element because we want to be able to reference that in our JavaScript can be used to hide HTML elements. Boom. So that is the element that we're going to hide with JavaScript, and we're going to use our ID tag there to reference it in our JavaScript. So next, we're going to create a button, and the type is just equal to button. And then here comes the JavaScript. On click, you can see that Sublime Text is filling some of that in for me. That's why I love this application. On click, we go to document.get elements by tag name. Oh, elements by ID. Elements by ID, hide. Because that is the ID that we're getting. So this is how on click you can tell the HTML web browser to find something using JavaScript. And then we are going to go ahead and hit the dot button because we're not done. We want to style this to display equals none. Okay? Now this button is going to say, try me out. /button. We'll close our body and we'll close our HTML and we will save this file as, let's save this file in our robotics course as JavaScript sample example. Boom. Okay, now as we mentioned, this is an HTML file, right, with some JavaScript inside of it. And when we open up, we have the option to open it with Google Chrome. So there it is right there. Let's try to hide some JavaScript. Try me out. Boom. It just did what we wanted it to do. Let's show that again. So this part right here, oh, that's not a good color, is the paragraph with the hide tag. That's the important part to remember. Here it is here. So this button has the on-click document get element by ID style display try me out. And this part here, this paragraph, has the ID of hide. So when we click the button, it hides it. It's so simple. If we also add let's say we change the ID to hide here, and we remove it from this one, refresh, now it's going to hide the top layer. Just some basic JavaScript so that you can't say I didn't show you something, but we're going to dig into a lot more advanced JavaScript and Node.js in the next couple of videos. So hang out, you advanced coders. We're going to do some great IP coding for connected robotic cameras using some awesome computer programming languages. See you in the next video. All right, so what do you guys think? We did our first JavaScript tutorial there. It was pretty straightforward, but setting up a Node.js JavaScript runtime environment takes a little bit more getting used to. So in our next video, we're going to go over GitHub, explain how and where to get all of the files that you're going to need. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and we are going to install Node.js, get familiar with it, and use the command prompt to connect Node.js and actually be able to run a server on our computer that we can use to communicate with our IP-connected robotic cameras. All of that's coming up next. So you're now familiar with both HTML and JavaScript. Let's get familiar with GitHub and then start programming.